Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the Autopsy of Her, Healing, Evolving Resiliency. I am your host, Iris Denise Owens, and I hope that you all are having a wonderful, wonderful day. And on the line with me is my beautiful sister and co-host. Good afternoon, honey bunny. How are you today?
Good afternoon, honey bunny. I'm doing great. I'll be doing better if I can stop coughing.
I
I'm feeling
understand.
better.
Good, good. You're sounding better today, too.
Oh, I don't sound like a man today.
You still have the sexy voice going on, but yeah, you're not Barry White's twin today. So we
Oh, that's good to hear.
we will press on.
Yes, we will. That's what we do.
Yeah. So anyway, earlier this week, guys, if you had tuned in, we were talking about, I love you, you're perfect, now change. And so, as we stated that we would, since this is the month of love, which every day is a day of love, but because February focuses upon love, love of self, love of body, love of people, love of whatever you want to love on or in love with. So, we just want to continue. So, we're going to talk about what is your love language, right? What is going on right here? Okay, what is your love language? And some of us know what they are. There are 5 love languages, but we really think it's important that you know what those are, including what yours is versus what your partner's is. And do you communicate in a way such that each other knows uh, how you're expressing yourself, in other words, in your love language? So, the first love language, the first of the 5, is affirmation. And that is where you are using words of expression to share with someone, how you feel. That could be, I love you. But hey, did you guys know that there are like so many other words you could use to say, I love a person without saying, I love you? So that's another topic we'll talk about. But words of affirmation, or you look beautiful today, or you're so handsome today, or when I see you come into the room, you light up my life, whatever you want to use. But words of affirmation is the first of the 5 love languages. The second is quality time. That's, whether we're walking together in the park holding hands, or we're learning how to dance, cha-cha together, or we're just sitting at the house, drinking coffee on the sofa, or just talking to one another, looking up at the sky or looking up at the ceiling. It's quality time that you spend with one another. Okay. The second is the receiving of gifts. Now, be mindful, the receiving of gifts doesn't mean the gift you want to give. It has to also mean it's a gift that the person would love to receive. But it is the receiving of gifts. So some people love when you gift them with something, it shows them how much you feel about them. But it's more so when you gift them with something they actually would love to have, i.e., let's just say the person is an art collector and you buy them a really beautiful piece of artwork that they have said, oh, I would love to have one of those, but they don't, and you buy that for them. So that is you know
Well, you're paying attention.
right, it's an expression of, a gifting of love. The second would be acts of service. And Steph and I were talking about this earlier. About, I've always said that in relationship, I believe that you must learn how to serve one another. um, and sometimes people get offended by that, but we will delve into that. But acts of service towards one another is also one of the 5 languages. And the last is physical touch. How whether it's I rub your head, or you rub my shoulder, or you rub my back at night when I go to sleep, or just when we're sitting together, we hold hands with one another, or, the expression of kissing one another. All those things are uh, signs of love when you're doing physical touch. And over the last few years, there has been so much conversation regarding PDA, physical
Oh,
display of
display of
affection.
affection.
And a lot of relationships have gone through a lot of stuff over this PDA. Okay. So jumping in, we just, do you know what your love language is?
Well, I'll be curious to know what your love language is. What are your love languages? Do you have more than one? Do you have two? Do you have three?
Right. And that's a good thing, right, to say, because it's not, I don't think it's one. I think you probably have
Yeah,
one that outweighs
that's
all.
the that's the most important one. Like
Right.
you would take those five love languages and put them in your order. What's the
Right.
order that works for you?
So for me, it would be affirmation, physical touch, acts of service, quality time, receiving gifts.
Okay, so for me, it's first is um, quality time, affirmation, uh, acts of service, and physical touch, and then receiving gifts.
Okay. Okay. So that being said, how many of you actually know what your partner's acts of language of love is? I'm sorry, right?
Yes.
And I think this is something we should, especially being in the month of love, right? This is a conversation you should have. Like I said earlier before, that every now and then we need to do relationship inventory. Like that's an important thing. Like do a check-in with one another and say, hey, are we good? Is there anything you want to talk about? Is there anything that we need to talk about, or any concerns? Or, even, I know it sounds crazy, but like, what did we really do great this month? Or what did we really do great with one another last year? Just so you kind of check in, because otherwise I think we take it for granted that our relationship is good and we don't have to do anything different or do any more.
Oh, you definitely have to do checkup. But I do know that my man's he did his love language is acts of service.
Right.
That,
And
that's
I would say the same for my partner as well. Acts of
yeah.
service. Just his character is based on acts of service, right? And
Exactly.
so I think, though, I would like to ask the question about if your love language is different, right? So for me, if I say my major would be affirmation, meaning I like to hear, I want to hear you say how you feel about me, right? And so if your partner is not that, if that's not their first or main acts of, love language, then what do you think is going on in your head when you're not getting that reciprocal? Like, so if I say to someone, hey, I'm really into you, I'm really feeling you, da 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 da, and they go, hmm.
Okay. And be like, okay, okay,
So what do we do with that?
Well, first of all, no one's a mind reader. You have to
Correct.
share what your love language is. So
Correct.
it's for you to know your partner's love language. He should know yours, and you should know his.
Right.
And so that's what's important. So and then because when somebody cares about you, they're gonna learn what yours are. Just
Correct.
because mine may be active service and yours is quality time. So I know that you need quality time, and then I know you need active service.
Right.
That's how that works. But you can't
Correct.
expect anybody to be a mind reader. You
Correct.
have to tell them what it is. And
Correct.
then if they're listening, they will display those things because that's what's important to you.
Right.
That's how that works. You
And I
know,
also think even if you don't have a conversation, I think once you've spent quality time, right, first with the person long enough, you begin to learn one another's love language, right? Because in conversation we will share things and we'll say things, but also a person's actions speaks louder than words. Because how many times have we been in situations where someone says, oh, I love you, I love you, but you're doing everything outside of what love is supposed to look like, or
exactly. I don't even see
or
you.
Or that it's us, that we're telling someone, I love you. I love you. But then we're doing everything outside of I love you to that person and never telling them that we really don't feel that way anymore.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know?
Well, you are by all the things that you're not doing. You don't want to,
Right.
yeah,
Because your
you
actions,
don't want to, right? You don't want to accept that, but
right.
it's because you're speaking out of two sides of your mouth.
Exactly.
All your actions are saying like I don't want you no more, but the
Right.
other part is saying yeah I do. And really,
Right.
what I think when people are in those situations is because they probably still care about you, but they feel they can find something better than you.
Or they have found something better.
Or they have found someone better than you. They're
Right.
just trying to say, like, is this person that they found that they think is better than you worth leaving you to go with them? Or, is the grass really greener on the other side?
Right.
And 9 times out of 10, it isn't. But, they're trying to figure that out. So they're not going to let go they steady, to go with a maybe. So they're gonna try
Well,
to, keep y'all both going. So it's usually the people in the situation have to
mm-hmm.
make the decision. You know what I mean? When you know that every Friday, Saturday, and Sunday you guys spend time together, now
Right.
y'all see each other on Monday. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Right.
it's like the person, you have to make the decision whether it's the man or the woman, like, like what's going on here.
Right.
Or maybe obviously found something else that has taken your attention away from our relationship. So, I can let you go on and take care of that,
Right.
because we stay, sometimes we do stay at the party a little bit too long when a person is telling us through their actions what it is, you know. And that's not necessarily just dating, but it could be through marriage, whatever the
Mm-hmm.
situation is, because you have children, you have a lot, especially the longer you stay. See, that's the thing. The longer you stay in these relationships that aren't working for you, the more invested you become. And it takes longer to get out. And it's
Right.
kind of the thing that once you feel, or once two people on the same page, like we need marriage counseling, we need help, whatever, and you've exhausted all those avenues and you still aren't working, then it's time for you to move on and figure out how you're gonna, co-parent and all these kind of things, because you end up wasting each other's life. And the thing is, what I've been on this earth for 58 years, and I've seen people that have allowed people to waste their life. And it's sad. It's something that you can't time. It's something you can't get back.
You can't get back. Right.
I
And let
think
me
that,
just say, quality of time is something that's a love language, correct? And so
absolutely.
if you and I are in one another's lives and neither of us are enjoying this time that we have together, that's pretty much a good indicator that, again, unless you're
Exactly.
willing to do the work, i.e., have the conversations, figure out, do we want to save this relationship? Do we want to save this marriage, this relationship, with whatever situation you're in? Then making a conscious decision, joint decision, to go and speak with someone. If that means getting professional help from a counselor, speaking to your pastor, speaking to, if you think your parents, or there's a couple that you think, hey, these people have been married for many, many years, and I understand and I love what I see from them. Maybe having a conversation with them could help us redirect, right?
Okay.
So there are many avenues that you can choose, but you got to first start with having a conversation. And like Steph said earlier, no one's a mind reader, because many times we get into a thing, like, for instance, if I am in relationship with someone and they do something the first time, something I don't like, and I'm not talking about anything horrible, like they just do something, right,
Right.
that makes me like, I don't like that, right?
Right. Uh-huh.
You should say it then,
Absolutely.
right? And I'm saying, when I say it then, I'm saying, like, maybe not right at the moment, because if you're at a function or you're at something, you're out with other people, then of course that's not the time to do it.
Right.
But when you're, on the way home, or when you get home and everyone's like, hey, can we talk about this, that, and the other that happened, right? Because the longer you sit on top of it, the longer you start to create other narratives in your mind. And typically they're not good narratives.
Yeah,
right?
it's true.
And that's what we tend to do. We don't ask a person what your love language is, or what is it that you really, what do you really like, or what, how do I know if you are not interested in something? How do I know that you don't feel something, right? But we won't ask because sometimes we're afraid of the answer.
Exactly. Like
Yeah.
I like, I had an idea for me, like, I love my old black and white movies and I like watching them. And I do tend to watch the same thing over and over again.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I miss that when my son was before he went away to school, he would have me watching all these different interesting shows. But once he went away to school, my daughter was already away at school. I just like because usually I'm moving. So I don't have
Mm-hmm.
time to sit and pay attention to something.
Mm-hmm.
But and so now that I am, I have a boyfriend, and he's like, yeah, I don't watch old movies. I don't like black and white movies, not like that. Yeah, it's a lot of new stuff. Have you watched anything new lately? So now he has introduced me to all this new stuff, and he's like, oh yeah, and I like Jennifer Lopez. He does not like Jennifer Lopez. Like, yeah, well, yeah, you can watch Jennifer Lopez movies, but I won't be watching them with you, But you have to have the conversation so that in my fantasy world of when I did finally get a boyfriend, we're gonna be watching these movies together that I love, and yeah, it's not
Not
happening.
happening. And you know what? So great point right there. This is when we have to learn to appreciate the difference between myself and the person who I'm involved with, right? Because many times that creates such rift because the one person, whichever whomever it is, or both persons will be like, you're so selfish. You don't like anything that I like. And so which means we must not belong together, right? Which I think sometimes we forget that we're individuals. And when we come into a
Exactly.
relationship, you're still an individual. And it's when you think that your life now is so entwined in this other person's life and you want their life to be so entwined into your life, it's when we begin to rub against one another and realize that maybe I don't know you as well as I think I do, but you have to be able to accept from the other person that this person is not into what you're into,
Yeah.
you
Well,
know?
and I think that you have to because you can like I could be like, oh, you're so selfish. You don't want to watch. I want to watch. It's all about what you want to watch. What do you want to watch? I'm like, I don't know. See, there we go. But it's like, what is when you really look at the big picture? What's more important, than that? You know what I mean? It's like for me, I told my daughter said, when I divorced her dad, like, mommy, what would you want from a man? I said, I want somebody to drive me somewhere and take me somewhere. And he drives me everywhere. It takes me everywhere, and I get a chance to just sit and look around. He's like, what are you looking at? I'm like, I've never really sit on the side of the seat before. And so I said that, I put it out there, and that's kind of what I got. But then I got other things. I got, a person who loves to cook for me, and just like and care, like call, check up. You know what I'm saying? When I was married, we go 15 hours without speaking, didn't even think about it. Like I think we should, catch up with each other, But my boyfriend now is like, I just call to see what's going on, just check up what you do through the day, and it's all these other benefits. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
And like you want to hold hands, let's hold hands. I love holding hands, and it's nice. So it's like okay. I didn't get the black and white movies. I didn't get that, but I got all this other stuff
Right,
that and like to spend quality time.
right.
What wants to spend quality? It's not me saying, oh, like when are we gonna see each other? He's like, what we doing today, and what we gonna do this weekend? What our plans? And that's very nice.
And you know something, so what my partner has taught me, and I never thought about it this way, he once said, he said, see, the difference between men and women is that women, some of us want to make our man, our mate, our girlfriend. Like we
Yeah,
want to be able to have the same type of conversations with our mate that we have with our girlfriends. And he was like, no, he's like, we are not going to sit there and listen to you go. And you remember we went to this place and remember you had on that green outfit with them orange shoes and the da, 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 da. And he's like, they be like, can you just get to the point?
yep,
It's
yep,
not that
yeah,
I
yeah.
don't, it's not that they don't care. They just want it A, B, C, D,
Exactly,
not A,
exactly.
A1 exhibit, exhibit 2, exhibit 3.
But
Like,
A, and
no,
then paragraph 1. Then
right.
A, paragraph
No, get to the get to the point. Babe, please get to the point. Just
2.
deliver
Exactly.
the story. And then if there is something I don't understand, I am more than happy to ask the question. But can you get to the point? Don't
Right.
belabor this thing, right? And
Exactly.
he says many times that seems to be the issue in relationships. And I had to sit and listen to him. And I thought about that sometimes. I go, you might have a point. Like you may really be onto something. Because also we will say once we start telling a story, and then if our mate goes, well, I wouldn't have done that either. Now we in an argument about something that didn't have nothing to do with us, because now we're like, what do you mean you wouldn't have done that? Why wouldn't you have? We're not talking about us. And we have a propensity sometimes to go down that road or
Yeah,
down
we
that rabbit hole. And this had nothing to do with us.
exactly.
And
Yeah,
so,
you start something that don't need to be started.
right. So again, the conversation, to be able to sit and say, okay, how much of my story can you tolerate? And sometimes I think we forget that men and women, our minds, our brains operate very, very differently. Very, very differently. Again, we may be I got every pointer. I'm gonna keep adding, interjecting stuff in as I'm telling you this story. Because as I'm telling you, I go, oh no, wait a minute, let's go back. That's not
Let
how
me back
it
up,
is.
way back up. I missed this part. I know, I know.
And he's sitting over there going,
Oh my God.
oh, I'm like, oh my God.
I'm glad I get you.
He's like, is this gonna be a 5-hour movie? Because I don't have the patience for that, right? And I think in love language, you have to be able to appreciate when someone says to you, I don't emote like that. I don't express like that, right?
Exactly.
And so you have to decide early on, is that something you can work with or live with? But you also then have to examine, well, if you're not the affirmation person, what is your love language? And so if he is the acts of service type person, so when you say, oh my God, I'm trying to put this thing up on the wall and I have no idea what I'm doing and da 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 da. And he says, okay, I can't come right now, but give me about an hour, I'll be over. Or he says, I don't know nothing about putting nothing up on the wall, but I know who does. Right. And he comes over and he gets it done. Right. You cannot then say, he don't know how to put nothing up, and that's just not how, he don't love me because he didn't come over, he didn't do it, he didn't. If he made his way, if he dropped everything to come over there and to help you to fix it and do whatever you needed, then you got to understand how they show their care for you. And I think sometimes we miss that part about how a person shows care for you. Because I know for myself, if I don't hear, oh, you love me, you don't love me, then I'm in my head, I'm going, okay, well, what are we doing? Then how long we been together? How long we been doing this with one another? Oh my God. So when he said that, what did he really mean by that? So as opposed to me trying to dissect what he meant by something, let me just ask him, what do you mean by that?
Hello, exactly. That's the I see now. Are just like, yeah. What do you what like? Are you feel like sitting there sometimes they're thinking like, what are you thinking about? Like you said like they think about they want to be together. Like you go through all because like ask like what do you think about like because you could tell when somebody all of a sudden they're not with you. Like what happened?
Yes, they are off somewhere
Yeah,
else.
yeah, So, but you have to ask the question. But you know how my car broke down the day before Thanksgiving,
Uh-huh.
and this man, he took me. He took me wherever I need to go, and and I had to go to my doctor's appointment, my physical. He met my doctor. He took me to get my blood work done. He had to take me to the city. He had to take me to go look for a new car. And I really, really appreciated it. But and I really didn't think anything of it because I got the first day I was able to get the rental car through AAA. And so he said, okay. He said, how you gonna get there? I said, Enterprise gonna come pick me up, whatever. Enterprise calls me and they're like, we can't pick you up. We're too busy. And I'm like, well, I gotta get this
Right.
car. I gotta work today.
Right.
And so I called a friend of mine. Can you take me? Like, yeah. So I come home and I tell him the story. So he said, how did you get there? As I called a friend of mine, she was like, you don't need to call nobody. You call me. I'll come get you. I was like, okay, not a problem. So when I had to take the car back, he came back. He came and he got me. But she told me right then and there, like, hey, baby, I'm here for you. And I
Right.
really appreciated that. And I'm like, okay, honey, no problem, because a friend of mine was closer, whatever. He's like, I got you.
Right.
And he did, what I mean? I was telling the other day, so I really appreciate that. I think, too, that us, just in general, as human beings, we tend to take things for granted. Once you're in a relationship, then once you're married, you feel that you don't need to give people, oh, thank you, I appreciate you. I think it's
Mhm.
more important than ever.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? And I think that we
Absolutely.
got, like, you try to treat it like an old shoe. It's like, you have that brand new baby and it's everything. As the baby gets old, it's like, okay, it's
Yes.
like, it's with everything so new, you're so all over it. And
Right.
I think you still have to give it the appreciation that it needs, especially in relationships. It needs even more appreciation,
Right.
because the more you get to know each other, more things you find about each other, more likes and then some more dislikes and things of that nature. But
Right.
you have to tell a person, thank you, I appreciate you. I know when I was married and, you know, um, when my ex-husband, he used to like have a new tie on, a suit on. But I was always like, oh, honey, you look really nice this morning. And he would say, thanks. And I tell you, when I tell you I can't stand the word thanks, I can't stand the word thanks. But it's like, like you don't have the energy to put thank you on it. And it was
Thanks.
never a compliment toward me. But I'm that person. If I see something, me, I'm like, that was nice. Oh, that's not,
Right.
because I notice those things about people, everyone. But it's nice to let somebody know that they appreciate. Just because I've been with you 30 years don't mean I don't want to hear, that you appreciate me,
Right.
thank you, whatever, or you fixed me breakfast that morning, dinner, whatever the case may be. I think that that's important. We have lost that, but we go out on the street with these damn strangers and smile and shuck and drive with them all over. Oh, thank you. Oh, yeah. You don't even know. You didn't even wake up with them. I mean, you have nothing invested in these people, and you put all this energy of greatness into them when you need to put the
Right.
greatness of energy into the people that you woke
Whose
up with. That
space, who's like, if in case if you are cohabitating or you're married with the person's face who you breathed in the night before and who you woke up with.
exactly. That is so important.
Yeah.
And I just don't know why people feel the need to shuck and drive for daggone strangers. Like,
Well, I
like no.
agree with you about the thank you because that is one thing I always say. I don't care if if he takes me to dinner or he takes me to breakfast or he takes it, I always say, "Hey babe, thank you. I really appreciate that. That was so good." And
Exactly.
I get the same back from him. It's important because you begin to take for granted that you just ought to do this, right? And then the other person is sitting over there because if they're not the person who would say something, which most of us probably won't or wouldn't, then this could go on until they get to a point where they're so tired of it. And then one day you come home and they're gone or they've packed and you're like,
What
what's
happened?
wrong with you? What happened?
Exactly.
You stop saying thank you or you start
Exactly.
saying thanks.
Right. Is that
Right.
hello?
Okay. And so we have to have that. When I was talking earlier about that relationship inventory, this is a part of relationship inventory, but you have to start with knowing what is your love language. What do you speak? What language do you speak in when it comes to love, when it comes to your expression of love, and especially towards someone that you are involved with, that you want to continue being with? But many times we will get to a point, and especially we're now in this society where you know nobody wants to be the first to say this, and I think it's probably always been that way. No one wants to be the first to say I love you, right? Because what if that person doesn't say that back? Then what? Okay. But even if you said it, if you really felt that way about someone and you said to a person, I love you, and the person doesn't respond, right? At least not respond with, I love you back. What do you do then?
Well, with me, I would, I mean, if I love you, I love you. You don't have to tell me it back because I'm telling you how I feel, you know. Now, the person, like sometimes, um, I like somebody may say like, I don't feel that way yet or whatever. I mean, then that's on you. You know what I mean? How would you take that? But you
Right,
know, eventually they may love you. Who knows? But I
right,
think, I mean, you definitely would feel a way. But I think that you have to be emotionally intelligent about it.
right. Because my point is that if I love you for whatever reason I love you for,
Exactly.
right? And if you don't feel that way about me, I get it. But for most people, that would be the end of the end of the relationship, because then you're saying you don't love me. But you said something just now, where I was going about, a person needs to have the opportunity to express themselves. And then if they say, I don't love you like that yet, or I'm not there yet, what do you do with that? See, because what happens is you have to be mature enough, and like you said, emotionally intelligent enough to be able to listen to what a person is saying to you, right? And you have to know something about them, because if you came into a relationship and you knew nothing about this person's past relationships or what they were going through or where they had been before, then you have no reference.
Exactly.
But if a
Exactly.
person told you in the beginning, hey, I just got out of a really bad relationship, and it could have been 10
Very
years ago.
toxic. Right.
It could have
Exactly.
been 10 years ago, but they're still in the healing, recovering process, especially if they have not been in any other serious relationships from 10 years ago, right? So if that person tells you, hey, I'm still trying to heal, I still have a lot to work on. So when they say that to you, that I care about you deeply, but I'm not there yet, that says that they're still open,
Right.
but they're being honest about where they are. So
Exactly.
most people would be like, well, you know what, if you don't love me, I'm out. Again, sometimes we cut our nose off to spite our own face because we're not listening,
Right.
right? Now, I will agree, and I have said this on several times. I recall from a very young age, I had a friend who was deeply in love with a person,
Mm-hmm.
deeply in love, right? And she expressed, I love you.
Mm-hmm.
And he said, I'm very much in like with you.
Mm-hmm.
But,
Wow. That I feel for her.
but what he stated was true,
Mm-hmm.
because these two people ended up having a child together.
Mm. Wow.
But he chose not to be involved
Wow.
really in the child's life. I mean, there, not there, da, da, da. But my point is that that's the other thing we do. If you heard what they said,
Why
you
would
should
you move
get,
forward?
okay.
Yeah, you know me. I'm out. You know, I just don't like. Yeah, I don't tolerate those kind of things because when a person shows you who they are, tell you who they are, you have to believe them. You know, because I think that us as women get into this thing that, well, I can make him love me. You know, if he's telling you all these things that the ex didn't do and that didn't do,
But he's
and
not telling you what he didn't do.
exactly, that's I'm gonna say me.
Or she's not telling you what she didn't do.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I'm saying, like, I told him, like, no, it's a joke. I was like, but I'm only hearing your side of the story. He said the same thing to me. I said, but
Right.
I choose to believe you because I know you, like you choose to believe me. You know what I
Right.
mean? But there's two sides to every story. So it's not like I gotta do but oh, she didn't do this, then you're gonna do that better. That's not what it's about. You still have to be your authentic self. You
Correct.
cannot, the one thing I always say, and I say it all the time, you can't make somebody love you. People gonna
No.
either or you don't. I know men that have loved the most trifling women that don't do anything. You know what I mean? And so it's like, how I think my girlfriend says, she's like, the lazy women be winning. You know what I mean? And they just love them. No matter what they do, they'll
They're
still love them. So
right,
it's not about that. It's about you really being authentic, you know. And so you just got to do you. Now, if that person doesn't love you for who you are, then you got to walk. I
right,
mean, you think this is your dream guy? No, your dream guy is a guy who's gonna love you like you love them. That's your dream guy. You know what I mean? Like I have from a friend of mine, this guy, he really cares for her. And I think this would be a nice guy for her. I don't feel that way about you want all these other things not working. Where I think this guy has been consistent. You know,
mm-hmm,
like you like that's not it. I think that we always like to want to do this hard work. Run behind these people that don't even want you. They ain't looking at you twice because they look a certain way or they stroked you a certain way, whatever the case may be. And we do ourselves a disservice for something like that. For
right,
someone to say, I want to be on the same page as you. I like you. I think we could build something together. That is
right,
something really, really
right.
nice.
And they're
No,
putting in the work. Now,
and then
if they talking the talk but not walking the walk, now you got a problem. But if the words and the actions
have to match.
line up, then yes, opportunity presents itself. And I again, we were, I was talking with another friend of mine who was saying how, in terms of relationships, that he hates it when he hears a woman call a man broke. It's
Yeah.
specifically broke, ASS, right? And he said, I think it's really messed up that, women talk about men like that, like, it's hard out here for men. And I said, and you think it's not hard out here for women? Because my thing is that we can all recall situations, relationships we've been in where we are striving to do this thing over here. And we thought that this person that we were with was striving as well, only to find out that we were like this at one point, maybe a brief point, and then somewhere along the line, we started going like this,
Yeah.
right? And we've talked about this before. You driving down the street straight. Somewhere along the line, you get to the light, somebody hit a hard right or a hard left, and you sitting at the light by yourself.
Exactly. Yep.
So, again, and we will have another conversation about the whole, how sometimes between Black men and Black women, our fight with one another, and then how sometimes our own brothers will be like, yeah, I can't deal with y'all. Y'all got too much attitude. Y'all too strong. Y'all too, but yet you will choose someone else that doesn't look like us. And then you go, she treat me so much better. But that's a whole nother conversation.
Exactly.
Just saying.
I do think that in our strength, we have to be strong women. But that doesn't mean that we can't treat our men like kings and they can't treat us like queens. What I
Exactly.
mean? We have lost that. And from like I just I'm a boss bitch. I don't need no man. That attitude. It's like yeah,
That is not that's not how we were created.
yeah, that's not the attitude to take. You know what I mean? We need each other. Let's be clear on that. But this attitude that people are taking like that. That's how you build societies. From a man and a woman from real love, and that's important. And we have to find our way back to that. And we have to learn how to nurture each other.
Yes.
In these relationships,
Right.
that's really really important. But it's no nurturing going on. It's
No.
looking at everything on the outside. No one's getting to the root of what's on the inside. And you have to make somebody, men and women, that you have to feel that they can open up and be vulnerable. Some
Right.
people never open up. And a lot of these relationships that we're looking at are very surface like driven relationships.
Absolutely.
They're not deep. You know what I mean? They're not, that man would dare not cry in front of that woman because, he has to keep up this image. You know what I'm
Right.
saying?
Right.
This woman would dare not go to bed without taking off her makeup because
Oh,
she has to look perfect. The eyelashes,
okay.
everything.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? This
The
this is
I
your
woke
woman,
up like this look.
right?
Yes.
Yeah, this is
Yeah.
your man. This is your woman. If you can't be vulnerable with them, who can you be vulnerable with?
Right.
And
Right.
we have, and that's what builds a relationship that, yeah, it's the woman that's with the man that got $5 in his account because whatever his situation is, but
Right.
it's not okay. So that may just be his situation now.
Right.
That's not the who he is. You know who
Right.
this man is. You
Right.
know how hard he works. But that's
Right.
what you put him in because you got so much more dollars in your account than he has now. So
Right.
now he's broke.
And
I think
all
that's
situations can change at a twinkling of an eye. And so I
hard.
think a lot of that also has to do with like the language of love of acts of service, right? Is that we don't want to be in service to anyone, right?
Exactly.
And I think you cannot be in love or in relationship with a person and not be willing to serve them. And that's on both sides of the coin, right?
It's
And
true.
that looks different for everybody. It all depends upon what is the thing. Like, when we talk about, physical touch, or we talk about acts of service or quality time, what is like for some people the greatest thing in terms of an act of service? Like for, okay, so Super Bowl is coming up, right?
Mhm.
Now, some
That's what
women, we're in next weekend.
next
I'm
weekend,
sorry,
not
this
this.
weekend.
Oh,
No, this weekend.
oh, this week. Okay.
So for some of us, some women, we're into football, so we might be watching the game as well. But if you know that that's your man's thing, right? And he says, "Babe, I'm gonna go watch the game with the guys, da 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 da," because you hate football and you don't want to hear all that screaming and all that stuff. Wouldn't it be nice for you to tell your husband, your man, your boyfriend, whatever, babe, I'm gonna make some snacks for you guys. I'm gonna make some food for y'all. Why don't you just stay home, chill? Come call the guys over here. Y'all hang. He gets to sit at his house, enjoy his game with his friends, and you either watch the game or you decide, I'm gonna go do something else for the day, right? And you don't make it a thing, right? Or that when somebody comes home, sometimes they really like to just get in the bathtub. Why haven't you ran them a bath? So when they come in, you just take their stuff from them and be like, listen, bath already ready. Go upstairs, take a bath, come back downstairs when you're ready. Or if not, because sometimes we're so exhausted, we sleeping in the tub. Why you think we sleep in the tub? It's not because the water feel good, it's because we're tired. It's
Yeah.
because
I
we're
mean, yeah.
tired.
No, you're right. I mean, it's important. Like I don't know anything about football. I'm learning because I with a guy that he's all into sports. You know,
Mm-hmm.
he played Division 1 football in college.
Mm-hmm.
His son Division 1. I mean, they're a big football family.
Right.
So I'm learning. I'm sitting through the games, and I know it's a big thing. You know, and I mean, I watched it. I would always go to the Super Bowl party. I wasn't really paying attention. I know what's going on. I
Right.
like the time show and all that kind of stuff. But I'm more like invested. He's teaching me like no, and he's a sports guy.
Right.
I'm not. He played always played sports and all this kind of
Right.
stuff. So, but I'm there to listen. I'm there to learn because it's
Right.
something that he's very much into.
Right. Because you have
Yeah,
to realize, okay, if I'm a sports person, male or female, you know that when football season starts, I'm watching football. If I'm a
exactly.
basketball person, I'm watching basketball. So you either watch with me or you find something to do to occupy your time, right? And not punish me because, hey, I like this thing and you don't, you know? It's just like for the women who I love to shop. You know that a man loves you when he then says to you, let's go shopping. And he hates shopping. He hates it. He
Yeah,
goes, this is for you. And he
exactly.
doesn't whine and he doesn't complain. And you're like,
That's nice.
oh, okay.
We went to
So I'm
lunch one day. We
saying,
ended up at Zara's, and he's like, I know he's ended up shopping, but I'll go stand in line. I'm like, well, thank you.
guess what, y'all? The more we spend serving one another, paying attention to one another, being willing to compromise with a person, the love language speaks for itself. it starts to speak for itself. And it becomes no longer a chore or a headache to do certain things because quality of time. With the way we rip and run these days, sometimes the only time we do get to spend time together is carving it out, right? Yeah. Sitting on a sofa, supposedly watching a movie where we both fall asleep. Watching the game where we both snoring because we had such a crazy week, right? Mm-hmm. I'm just saying, you got to think about your love language and then we got to work in them, exercise them. Because to me, that's half the fun of seeing where you went from, I'm not really looking for a relationship to, 5 years later, it's like, yeah, we still here. Instead of planning, okay, after year one, I expect you to ask me to marry you, or year two, I expect you to do this, that, or the other, or year three, because sometimes, especially the older we are, I want to get married, but do I need to get married? Because getting married when you're younger has so many other things attached to it, i.e., I want to have kids. You're supposed to get married. It's like it's that list of things you're supposed to do in life. Okay, at soon to be 58 years old, I don't have to prove nothing to nobody. I didn't have to prove it back then, but I did, if that makes sense, because we live in, between your parents, God, religion, expectations. We do a lot of things that if we had known better, we might not have done. But now you got a choice.
Yeah, but I would not proving to anybody. It's something about all the benefits of marriage that I just love.
Oh, I mean, absolutely.
I love my guy and I do want to get married again, but I can honestly say that I'm taking one day at a time and we're having a good time and we're enjoying each other. And that's not like, oh, you're not gonna marry, it's not that. It's like because we that's not the topic. It's like it's something nice about getting to know each other and spending time. And this is someone I've been knowing since I'm 19, never not in a million years that thought that we'd be in this situation. So it's really nice to be on the other side of this relationship since it was a friendship for so many years. So I think that I can honestly say that's why I probably trust the relationship because of the long-term friendship that we've had. So I can honestly say if it was somebody that I didn't know, I probably would approach it a lot differently. I can honestly say that. You know what I mean? I would really need to know what is your like it's so much of this person I know, then there's so much of this person I don't know either.
Correct.
But so I would approach it a lot differently. So it's just like we're chilling and it's nice.
Awesome. So keep talking your love language. Keep having conversations.
Share it. Tell them what you want.
Take your relationship inventory. It's really important. It's the month of February. And like I said, every day is a day of love. But since we emphasize it so much in the month of February, take advantage of it. There are a lot of these games out here where you can, it's Valentine's Day games that you can share with your significant other, where you get to ask one another questions and it's all in fun, but you learn so much from one another, right? And I'm like, I just think it's always important to constantly do a check-in with your partner, right? Never take for granted that we good, because everyday life weighs on us by itself. And then between everyday life and the things that we're responsible for, and then relationship, sometimes gets put on the back burners, or we take it for granted, or we feel there's nothing that needs to be discussed, or we're good and maybe you're not good, or sometimes we're bad and it's just going to stay bad. If it means something to you, then you got to work on it. You have to invest.
Oh yeah, but you got to work on it 24/7. You got to work on your relationship every single day.
Absolutely.
It's a job you can never retire from, and a lot of people want to retire from it and wonder what happened.
Right.
You can't put your relationship on auto, and think it's gonna. It doesn't work like that. No, it doesn't work like that. You have to be.
Your relationship is not a Tesla.
It's not. You got to be in it to win it.
You cannot be on cruise control.
You can't be on autopilot.
You
You
can't
can't be
be on
on.
autopilot. Yeah,
Yeah,
and you have to
It's not
be honest with yourself, and you must be honest with your partner about
yeah,
what's going on with you. And if
exactly.
you are not getting what you need, oh my God, you got to say that,
Mhm.
right? You got to say that. You can't,
Yeah.
again, like Steph said in the beginning, nobody is a mind reader. No matter how
Yeah.
long we're together and how much time we spend together, I can maybe tell when something's not, when you're off.
Right, exactly.
But if I ask the question and you still go, I'm fine,
Exactly. That's
nothing's
not telling
wrong.
me anything. Exactly.
Right. That doesn't tell me anything.
Because what you needed yesterday may not what you may not but me that what you needed yesterday you may not need today. You may
Right.
need something different today.
Right.
You
But
know.
then next week, that same feeling could come back, and I'm still walking around not having shared with the person who I'm spending my time in my life with, and not
Mhm.
giving them the ability. And maybe there's nothing they could do about it, but at least they know.
Exactly. Exactly. To be moping and don't share with your person while you're moping, that's the worst because they automatically think it's them and it
Right.
has nothing to do with them.
Right. And then before you know it, you're in an argument, and then you go, "What we arguing about? I don't know. You had an attitude, but you got an attitude too." Well, hello, just conversation,
Communicate. Communicate.
communicate, right? To stay connected. So I hope you garnered something great from today. I always love that when we have conversations because I'm always like, it makes me think about so many things, right? And I'm always like, we get on the phone and we talk for almost an hour before we even decide to come on the show. I always say, I think one day, you know what? One day I think I'm gonna hit record and we're just gonna have a it's gonna
Oh
be
Lord.
it's gonna be
Oh
a recording.
Lord. Them conversations be kind of spicy sometimes. You're like, Lord,
I was like, those will
tell me what
become
you
out.
really think.
Those will be our outtakes. And then people will be like, oh, what?
What? Yeah, to be like, yeah, what is it? The white takes is spicy. Yeah,
Woo.
the way he was reading the podcast, he said, and it said about our podcast that it's spicy. And I was thinking, like, if they heard the show before the show, it'd be extra, extra spicy.
It's spicy. It can be spicy. It could be spicy. It could be dicey. It could be, yeah, it could be whatever.
Mhm.
But yeah, one day I think I'm going to record one of our little conversations and just see how it goes. Because, like I tell you guys all the time, we probably have had, before we actually come on to talk with you all, we have had 20 conversations with 20
So,
different topics.
it's so true. It's so true. So true.
So, hey guys, I hope you all have a wonderful weekend. Enjoy yourselves. Super Bowl Sunday is this weekend.
Yes.
Um,
Rihanna's gonna be
so
doing her thing.
we're gonna do our thing, and I have some other stuff going on this weekend. We have the Black Health Matters Summit in Atlanta this weekend, so I will be attending that this weekend. Looking forward to
Oh,
that.
that's so nice.
Yeah. So, but hey guys, take care of yourself. Love on yourselves. Steph, your
Definitely.
final words.
Be authentic.
Mm, I like that.
Yeah, be authentic.
I love that. And as she said, be true to thine own self. That's what they always tell us, right?
For sure.
So, guys, we love you. Have a wonderful, wonderful rest of the week, and we'll see you next week. Smooches.
Bye, honey bunny.
Bye, honey bunny.